Technics makes some of the most iconic turntables ever built, and their lineup has gotten so expansive that trying to figure out which one is actually right for you feels like deciphering a different language. 1200 or 1210? G, GR2, GME? What does the K even mean, and why does the 1300G exist when there's already a 1200G? The naming convention is genuinely confusing, and most buyers end up either overspending on features they'll never use or talking themselves into a lower quality tier and quietly wondering if they left something on the table. If you walk into this purchase without understanding how Technics structures their lineup, you're just making a very expensive guess. So today we're breaking it all down, tier by tier, so you can buy with confidence. At Moon Audio, we're here to help you with all of your hi-fi needs. And one of the questions we get most often is usually some version of, help, I want a Technics turntable, but I have no idea which one to get. And honestly, that makes complete sense. Technics has built this incredible catalog, but the model names, they don't exactly spell out the differences. So let this video be your decoder. By the time that we're done today, you will know exactly where each model sits, what separates one from the next, and which one is going to fit your setup and your needs. So first, let's look at the big picture here. Technics organizes their turntables into 4 classes. You've got the DJ class, premium class, grand class, and reference class. So DJ class, that's going to be your first tier. And then you've got all the way at the top of the line, that's the reference class. That's Technics' flagship lineup, and those turntables use the highest grade materials, external power supplies, and everything else in their engineering arsenal. These are those statement pieces, but today we're focusing primarily on the 2 classes in the middle. That's the premium class and the grand class, and that's intentional. These are the 2 classes where most listeners find their home, covering everything from an $899 entry point all the way up to over $6,000. This is where Technics' core technology shines and where the buying decisions get really hard. The great thing about this lineup, though, is that there's no wrong entry point. You can jump in at the SL50C or go straight for the SL1200G. It comes down to your system, your priorities, and what you're genuinely going to use. But before we get into those individual models, let's decode the naming system, because once this clicks, everything else is going to make sense. So on newer models, Technics uses letters to decode the finish color. An S means silver, a K means black. So an SL1500CK is the black version of the SL1500C. And an SL1200GS is the silver version of the SL1200G. So I know I said it was easy, but there are 2 exceptions to the rule, and that is going to be the Master Edition and the GR2 models. Technics uses GME for both colorways, but lists them separately by number on the website. So the SL1200 GME is the silver finish, and the SL1210 GME is the black finish. And the same goes with the SL1200 GR2 being silver and the SL1210 GR2 being black. Now, what actually changes between these models? Well, that's a great question. Let's get right into it. So let's get into the turntables that we actually carry here at Moon Audio. We're going to go through each one at a high level, talking about what it is, what makes it distinct, and how it stacks up against the model above it and below it. The goal here isn't to overwhelm you with spec sheets, it's to help you figure out which one delivers the most value for your setup and the way you listen. Let's start at the top, because everything else in the video is measured against what's here. That is the SL1200 1210 GME Master Edition turntable. This turntable is Technics holding nothing back. You've got a twin rotor coreless direct drive motor, Delta Sigma drive digital motor control, a magnesium tone arm, a 3-layer platter construction, and a 4-layer cabinet. The power supply is a multi-stage silent design with active noise cancellation built in. So you get all the bells and whistles here. You've got a pitch slider, a strobe light, RPM selection buttons, and an EP adapter all on the top panel. Not to mention, this is a limited edition model. So this is the model for the collector, the listener who wants the absolute ceiling of what the Technics 1200 platform can offer, but with the legacy that comes with it. Now for the SL1200G. This is the model that we point most serious listeners toward, and here's why. Compared to the Master Edition model, you are going to lose the limited edition badges, the special gold finish, and also the upgraded Delta Sigma drive. But what you still have is Technics' core technologies. You've got the same platter and the same cabinet construction, and you've also got those extra bells and whistles on the top panel. If the Delta Sigma drive is a non-negotiable for you, then I encourage you to check out the Master Edition. Now the SL1300G takes a different approach. Technics kept the same core technologies, but they stripped away everything tied to the DJ heritage of the 1200 platform. That means no pitch slider, no strobe, no target light. What you're left with though is a cleaner, more minimalist chassis. It sits between the GR2 and the 1200G in the line, but it uses the more advanced Delta Sigma drive platform, unlike the SL1200G. That Delta Sigma drive is Technics' latest generation drive technology that suppresses motor vibrations for that smoother, more accurate rotation. The tone arm on the 1300G is aluminum, and the cabinet construction is 2 layers versus 4 layers on the models that I just mentioned. But that 3-layered platter, that stays the same. The SL1200 GR2 and SL1210 GR2, that being the silver and black finish options, is the most affordable of the high-end Grand Class models that we're talking about today, and it's simpler than the 1300G model in mass and construction. It still has the core Technics advantages, that is the coreless direct drive motor, Delta Sigma drive, and a full-size 1200 style layout, but with a 2-layered platter and a 2-layered cabinet construction. Unlike the 1300G, it does come with those extra bells and whistles, being that pitch slider, strobe light, EP adapter, all featured on the top panel, but it does keep the aluminum tone arm in common with the 1300G. Now we're within the premium class, and there's 3 turntables worth noting here. You got the SL1500C and SL1500CS with their plug-and-play performance featuring a built-in phono preamp and a pre-installed Audiophile 2M red cartridge. The 2 models are nearly identical with the exception that the 1500CS features the Delta Sigma drive, while that 1500C does not. Both models have a single rotor coreless direct drive motor, that built-in phono EQ, and pre-installed cartridge I just mentioned. Because the 1500CS was released more recently than the 1500C, the technologies that are used in here are the latest edition, so there may be some subtle tweaks done behind the scenes. You've got an auto-lifting tone arm, a 2-layer platter, a 2-layer cabinet construction, and those RPM buttons without any extra bells and whistles that you see in some of the Grand Class models. The SL1500C and SL1500CS turntables, they stand out because they're complete turntable systems. You can pull them right out of the box and plug and play. No frills, no fuss. And now for the 3rd model in the premium class at the most affordable entry point, that's the SL50C. It's compact, lifestyle friendly with a built-in phono stage and also a pre-installed Audiophile 2M red cartridge. It's the entry point in Technics' ecosystem because it's uncomplicated and straightforward. While it doesn't feature Technics' Delta Sigma drive, it's got that coreless direct drive motor, and it's in a much lighter chassis than the SL1500C models. Much of that is attributed to the fact that it uses an MDF cabinet construction, and it's the only model in this lineup using that material. You get those RPM buttons, but you don't get any of the extra bells and whistles that we talked about earlier, and you also don't get the auto-lifting tone arm. The SL50C is Technics' honest, no frills, entry-level turntable, and at $899, you just can't beat that. I know I just threw a lot at you all at once, so let's quickly recap the big differences here between these turntables. The SL50C, SL1500C, and SL1200G are the only models here without the Delta Sigma drive. The SL1200 GME, 1200G, and GR2 models feature all those extra bells and whistles, being that pitch slider, strobe light, and EP adapter, while every model in this lineup features that RPM selection button. If you love the Grand Class internals, but you have zero interest in the DJ aesthetic that comes with the 1200 platform, then the 1300 is an excellent choice. You get the same core performance, but with a completely different personality. Now for tone arms, only the GME and the 1200G carry the magnesium arm. Every other model in this lineup uses aluminum. For platters, the GME, 1200G, and 1300G all use a 3-layered construction. The GR2 and both 1500C models drop to 2 layers. The SL50C and both SL1500C models, they're great for anyone who is starting out, who might not have that dedicated phono preamp or a huge collection of cartridges lying around, Or maybe you're somebody who just wants something that's uncomplicated, easy to use. Then you have those 4 high-end models, being the 1200 GME, the 1200G, the 1300G, and the GR2. Well, those are closer to what you would consider a serious component turntable, whereas the 1500Cs and 50Cs are more of that complete system product that we talked about earlier, great for day-to-day use. Every model here in this lineup, though, it's built around Technics' core strengths: speed, stability, strong torque, and low maintenance operation. Remember, every Technics turntable in this lineup is unique in its own regard, and knowing exactly what's different from one another is what's going to separate you from making a confident purchase or an expensive regret. It ultimately comes down to, what do you want? What do you need? The grand and premium class turntables from Technics offer a genuinely honest hierarchy, and now that you understand how the naming works and where the value lies at each tier, you're in a much better position to match the right deck to your system, your listening habits, and your budget. We've done a full in-depth review of the SL50C right here on the channel. It's linked on the screen right now, so if you're seriously considering the entry point into this lineup, that's your next watch. And if you're eyeing the other end of the spectrum, if the Master Edition has your attention, subscribe and hit the bell, because our full review of the SL1200 GME is coming soon and you don't want to miss it.